All right, we're going to bend about 13 C-clasps here. And this is going to show you that you can't just do a kind of like a blank and then just adjust, because everybody's totally different no matter what. So these should take me about a minute or so a piece to bend, so it shouldn't be too long. But you'll get an idea of what we're talking about here. Pretty simple. We're going to come off all of these with just bend underneath the undercut, and then we're going to do a little bit of some retention in the wire. So we have to stay away from all lingual undercuts. That's why a blank would be a pretty big problem. We'd have to basically either bend it way out, and that's also where JawDraw comes in really, really well, because you can keep yourself out of that whole undercut, which this canine really doesn't have. But that's pretty close to where you need to be as far as adaptation for a clasp on a flipper. We come down on this tail just a little bit to leave us a little bit more room on the acrylic. But that is done for that. So we're gonna go on to the molar. We have to stay away from this undercut right here. We couldn't do that with a blank. We'd have to adjust the crud out of it to get, so we're gonna have to come from this side. And so what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna come around here. Maybe I got it in one shot, maybe I didn't. But that's good enough for a clasp for a flipper. We're well away from the undercuts or to lock in place here, so we're just gonna do a flat bend out the side here. We're going to do our retentive bends for the acrylic. Go back and check it, make sure it's okay on the model. Undercut's there, but it's sticking up way, way too high now. So what we're going to do is we are going to bend this down in one shot. That's a little bit off. We're going to come down just a little bit further on this one, just like so. And so that's it as far as adaptation goes for this. We can still wail away from the tooth, so we're not locking it in. We're trying to fit it back on the model, but overall that's what you're looking at for a clasp of that size for that tooth. And then we're also been requested to do 3 clasps, so we're going to clasp number 1 over here, which is a complete different size of molar compared to number 15 over here. And that's also another reason why just a blank chart would be pretty unhelpful. So that's into that retentive groove right there. We're gonna come across the back side, just like so. So we're still along the ridge. We're not high up on the alveolar ridge here, which you don't want to like skyrocket it up, and that's where your JawDraw, you could design it directly on the ridge, where a blank would not be able to achieve that. And then we're going to come across here for a nice little undercuts and the clasps, retentive bend. I might have done that wrong. It looks like I did. Not really, but we're going to come down, bend this down into the ridge. We're going to try to twist this whole assembly like so. And so there you go. It's on the tooth. It's not really above the alveolar ridge at all, and it's ready for retention on that side. So that's 3 clasps bent, and faster than your machine can bend in 1 minute. So we're going to come across here. We're going to do 3 clasps on a 2-tooth flipper. It's overkill, but that's what the patient is, doctor's asking for there. So we're going to stay right here. The bend is too severe. we're going to keep it like so. We have to stay away from this undercut. If we lock this wire down in here, we will not be able to get the flipper onto the model once it's done. So we're going to come across here, do a couple more bends, cut our wire. We'll stay just like this for now, and then we'll bring this curly Q down a little straighter because we have to put another wire on the other side, and we need a little bit of room. So that's not a good bend. It's not. I can adapt it after we're done with processing, but in the name of speed, it's going to have to work right now. So we're going to come across on this tooth here. It has an undercut on the front of it on the mesial, so we're going to come from the back side and hit that. So we're engaged into the undercut there. We're going to come around the distal of that tooth. Like so. We're going to keep it up off the tissue. And we're going to do several bends. So we're up off the tissue, we're right in everywhere we need to be on this tooth. We're riding along the alveolar tissue where they've had extractions. We're going to bring that tailpiece down just a hair, and then we should be good to go for that side. And we are solid. So that's 2 clasps for this case. And then the third being a clasp they want all the way around number 30. So we're going to come back around. Obviously different size from the other 2 clasps that I had just bent. There's no, straight forward bend on any of these. They're all different. They're all custom. So we're going to bring that down just a tad there. Flatten this back piece out. That side there. And we're going to do our retentive bends. I do these retentive bends on every single clasp that goes through my lab. It's kind of a way I can track and see if my flippers come from different offices. There's no other technicians in my area that bend like this, so it kind of gives me I can go back and see what's what. Now that's a bad bend right there, obviously. So what we're gonna have to do is bring this back out. I went a little too short on it. And that's where your JawDraw software would help out somebody, because they can obviously just design it, have the machine just do it. This takes years to teach somebody how to bend. And there's just not a lot of people out there that want to do it anymore, or can. So, the wire's right there. We're going to bring this shoulder in just a tad since we're pinching and we're a little too far away from the back side of the tooth. You don't want to be too far away and you don't want to be too close, and that's why the whole custom thing comes into play. So we're right there. We're going to bend this in just a hair. We're going to bend this tail in just a little bit here. And we're going to clip this sharp piece off here. Getting closer. Sometimes these clasps take a little bit of time to get into position. Sometimes they're not just 60 seconds. Sometimes they're 2 or 3 minutes. So that's good. Clasp is in a groove. It's well behind the tooth. It's off the surface, so we're not going to capture any undercuts there too. It's not the prettiest, but it definitely is functional. So we're going to take these 3. We're going to put it into this case for now. For later, this one, thank goodness, only has 2 clasps. So this gives you an idea of, we've been bending for a few molars. Now we're going to have to go to bicuspids and a really, really tiny molar here. So we're going to do the same things we've been doing on all these. We're just going to bend up. So that's going to be too long, so we're going to clip the end off. So we're pretty much right in there right now. We're going to round that tip off when we go to place these things in. We're going to bring that down. Down. And we're going to do some more bends here. So we're coming around this side again. We're going to just see what our final clasp is going to look like. It is in undercuts. It's in the embrasure. It's about as good as you're going to get. You don't need to come all the way up into here. Most doctors won't even generally know how to adjust that far. So we're going to do that. That's done for that side. And then we're going to come in on this molar. This has got a really serious buckle undercut on the outside here. So if you look at that, just a blank would do you no good there. And if you racked it in the wrong spot here, you won't be able to get this appliance on because of the buckle nature of how far that sticks out. You've got to be able to design it accordingly. And another reason why I think JawDraw probably comes in pretty handy there, because you can probably block out undercuts and or at least visually see them a lot better. So we are going to come into here, just like so. That bend is already there. So we're going to come around this back side. Starting to make our move up. Once again, we have to stay on the alveolar tissue. We cannot be above it. It'll create a food trap and the patient will just play with it all day long. So we're going to stay along that ridge. We're going to come down here. And then we're going to come across there. See where this bend is at so I don't mess this up. So now this side needs to go down just a tad, maybe a little forward. We'll just see where we're at. Yep. Too much. We're going to bend back just a hair. And that's it right there. The clasp is on the tissue. It's not above it. The retentive bends are right there, and it is an undercut, but it is pretty severe, so I'm probably going to do some pretty major adjustment to get the flipper to sit down on our duplicate model when we go to seat these things into place. So that is class number 6, 7, 8. Wait, that's not it. Yeah, 6, 7, So the next ones are really, really easy. They're just double claspers. It's from the same patient, so the teeth are relatively close to the same on this patient, but they're still not. So once again, having just a blank canvas and then having to adjust the clasps to try to get this done probably is not much of a time saver, because I'd still have to bend on them quite a bit, and that's where I'm trying to get away from, is me having to train somebody to do this, and then having the machine do it is a totally, you know, somebody drawing it out and having to do it on the machine is a game changer without a doubt. So that's where we're at. So we're going to put this in place. Yeah, that's lucky. Done. It's good to go. I can twist that tail up later, that tip up, but that's a solid clasp ready to roll in there. This is all 32 gauge stainless steel wire from Henry Schein as well. It's probably the same kind of material that you guys are using, obviously, in your machines. So we're going to come around here on this molar just to give it a little bit of extra grab. And I'm going to cut this short prematurely because it's interfering with the other side. All right, so we're good to go on our bend there. We're away from the undercut on this side. We need to probably come in just a little bit better on that. That's kind of ugly. So that's good right there. That's going to wrap around the tooth pretty nicely. And then we're going to come in past that lingual undercut so we don't lock it. Stay out in the corridor. And we're going to do some bends. So that's sitting right in here. We're going to take this, we're going to bend this sucker back just a hair down. And the last tail, rotate this down, and we are good to go. Just like so. That's a little bit of a whoops there, but we can adjust that after process, not a big deal. So that's the other two, and then so this case, like I said, is the same patient, so the teeth are relatively close to the same, but this is lower, so the teeth are obviously going to be a little bit bigger. So we're going to just wrap up onto this bicuspid here. Just like so. And we're going to come off the corner, staying out of the undercut. We're going to come down, make some grooves. I'll set this back in here. Now, this is way off. This is a pretty bad bend that I just did, so I'm going to have to do some serious tweaking on the front end of this to try to get it back straight again. But I think we can just bend it forward a little bit there. We might be able to catch it. Right there. Bring this end in. Just a hair. All we're using is bird beaks and 3 prongs to do this. Wire cutters, rubber wheels to rubber wheel the tips off. A little bit wonky there, but that'll work. Then we're going to come in here, we're going to bend this down just a hair. Just like so. So you're still riding above the tissue there. It looks kind of weird, but you're above the tissue, you're out of an undercut. We can still put a denture tooth on top of it and still capture it on a pressure pack round and round and have something to hold in there. And then we're going to do one last clasp on the bicuspid across the way here. And that should wrap us up for today's wire bending. Oh boy, it's a bad bend. So we think that JawDraw is really a good system. The ability to do what you guys are selling is really, really pretty key for people like me. It's just like I said, if we don't have the amount of cases coming in to justify the price of the machine, as well as the monthly maintenance in order for the machine to talk to the software, it just really doesn't make a lot of sense for us. You know, we do anywhere between 16 and 20 class a day. We would have to probably be up into the 100 units plus mark to be able to justify something like that. But we would be able to put our digital guys on board with it and not have to worry about training somebody for 10 or 15 years to do this wire bending without putting marks on the wire and going back and forth, wasting a lot of time. Because it does take years to master something like this, and there's just not a lot of techs that can do it anymore, or that have the patience for it. So we're right there. We're above the tissue. We're gonna make a move downwards here, just like so. And we are away from the undercut. We're above the ridge. Everything's solid. I'm going to twist that flat just so the bends aren't sticking straight up in the air. Cut off a little extra. Come on, you. So that's good to go. That is on the ridge. It's in the undercut. We can bend it tighter once processing is done, but that is what we are calling an analog clasp day. So let me know what you think, and we'll talk to you soon.